In the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, there is only war. And enforcing imperial law is a war unto itself. The stalwart defenders of imperial edict and executioners of its brutal justice are the Adeptus Arbites. As the heretical uprising has spread across Atoma, the natural relationship between Inquisitors and Arbites has once again been tapped. Unfortunately for the rejects, the arbitrators don't think Interrogator Rannick has been doing too great of a job, so now the Arbites are here to put down this rebellion personally. With uncompromising force and a stalwart will, you will be the one to do it.
I am the legs! I cannot be stopped! Clearing the way!
Reginald here. Welcome to all the new players, and hello again to all the old faces. I've been sponsored by Fatshark in this video to explore how to play the Arbitrator class in Warhammer 40k Darktide from beginner to absolute peak challenge gamer in Havoc 40. If that prospect excites you, then click the link in the description below and wishlist the deluxe edition today. So call me Headmaster and let's make like this is the Scala Progenium and get class started. This is the Mourning Star. Let me orient you. Most of the time, this is where you will be when you log in. Go this way to get to the play game buttons. This is the mission terminal. You play the game from here. When you start your game as an Arbites class, you will be given the option to take a unique story introduction to the specific class, including a touch of new lore and basic tutorialization. If you've already put hours into Darktide, you could skip this. But if you are new, then I really recommend you do both tutorials or pay close attention to this whole guide because this game is not like other games. The combat system is quite robust. Your first few missions will be an introductory campaign at Uprising difficulty. This is about introducing you to the mechanics of the game and easing you into the hybrid combat, giving you the plenty of one-on-one interactions with enemies so you can work on the basics. The fun will be in the spectacle of it, and the spectacle is marvelous, so enjoy it. For the early game, you won't have access to much customization. No curios, limited weapon options, no talents. All of this will come in time, as part of the natural leveling process. For now, let's just talk about what your class starts with. Arbites starts with access to the Exaction Mark III Executioner Shotgun, and the Arbites Shock Maul. These are two of the best weapons available to the class, though as you level up, you'll unlock plenty of fun options. Feel free to just roll with these toys until you hit Malice. For your Blitz, you have a powerful, quick-throwing Arbites Grenade, which detonates on impact. For your ability, you have a simplified version of the Nuncio Aquila, which provides toughness, regeneration, and automatic chastisement of the Lex's enemies. Finally, your trusty Cybermastiff, whom you can command to attack specific targets by double-tapping Ping, or just let him do his thing. In time, you will unlock fabulous upgrades and alternatives to this core kit, but for now, it's just the basics. Speaking of basics, let me give you 5 core pieces of information for this part of your journey. Number 1, this is your toughness. It is analogous to shields. It works a tad different in this game than most. It will always block ranged damage until it is depleted. Once depleted, your health takes ranged damage. At 100%, it will fully absorb all normal melee damage. Below 100%, it will block some normal melee damage, but a reduced amount, based on your toughness remaining, will bleed through to your health. In high difficulty content, you can be instant killed by some attacks regardless of toughness, but the basic name of the game for survivability is keeping toughness at 100%. Number 2, keep an eye out for this and this. These are plasteel and diamantine. They come in small and large packages. They are more abundant at higher difficulties, but they are the materials used to upgrade weapons. Any player can pick them up and everybody gets them, but if you lose the mission, you all get nothing. Number 3, enemy melee attacks can be blocked by drawing your melee weapon and holding your right mouse button or whatever aim is for you on controller. Number 4, swapping to your melee weapon is always nearly instant. Number 5, your melee weapon has light and heavy attacks. To use a heavy attack instead of light attack, hold and then release your attack button. Heavy attacks do not need to be fully charged to be swung. Usually, they deal the same damage regardless of hold time, and usually have better damage against armored or large enemies compared to light attacks. Malice. Welcome to Malice. you're finally gaming. Most people consider Malice to be the first real difficulty of the game, and as a new player, it is a great place to play with friends, and offers up a decent challenge, with a real risk of loss to add tension, and some fabulous spectacle. Let's get into a few more details about the class you are playing. As you level up towards level 30, you're going to be filling out your talent tree and upgrading weapons. I'd like to explain the core concepts of the talent tree for Arbites, then provide a build you can work towards. This top section is primarily dedicated to how you will sustain yourself through various types of toughness regeneration. There's a few utilities and power buffs up here too, which can flavor your builds or provide buffs early in your lower level games. I usually really recommend 2 to 3 toughness nodes from this section on this specific class. Next are the blitzes. You can only pick one, and they can have a huge impact on both playstyle and power level. The rightmost one should be familiar. It's a moderately upgraded Arbites impact grenade. I like these a lot. Next is the Arbites shock mine. This is a very powerful and enduring AoE stun, but it only has 2 charges. This is very strong in high level content due to the stagger advantage. Finally is the remote detonation blitz. This creates a big, high stagger, solid damage AoE shock explosion centered on your Cybermastiff. This has 3 charges and regenerates over time. No pickups needed. This rocks. After this, we have a unique Mastiff upgrades node section. You can modify the behavior of your Mastiff to chase specialists and elites, or ranged enemies, or you can forego your faithful companion altogether for some serious personal upgrades, including regenerating grenades. This next section is abilities. Each of these is extremely powerful and alters your gameplay. They have sub-node upgrades as well that do cool things. We already know about the Nuncio Aquila, and it has some nice upgrades here if you choose to select it compared to the base version that you're used to, such as reducing the speed of enemy attacks and improving downed ally pickup speeds. Lots of safety and utility with this one, and that can be very strong. Next is Castigator Stance. This is my personal favorite. Hitting the go button on this fully regenerates your toughness and gives you 80% damage reduction. You can't sprint or slide while you're using this, but you can still dodge. You gain movement speed and are no longer slowed by various actions like charging heavy attacks or reloading. Even in the highest difficulty content, it is actually possible to trigger this and just stride stalwartly forwards into a hail of gunfire, trading blow for blow, blasting your shotgun into everything that moves. Man, it's fun. Just be careful not to overcommit when the effect wears off. Next is Break the Line. This is a charge. It's a fairly short range charge, but staggers everything except bosses in a wide radius and has a super short cooldown. It also pulls out your melee weapons so you can get to work immediately. Finally, we enter the flavor maxing section of the build tree. The Keystones. Execution Order on the left is a powerhouse keystone that highlights enemies and buffs you when you kill them. This scales well with difficulty. Terminus Warrant provides buffs for your ranged weapon by fighting in melee and buffs for your melee by fighting at range. It's a nice hybrid buff cycle. Forceful is more of a control-oriented keystone with some buffs to damage but huge buffs to stagger power. The way you make a build is you work your way from section to section, picking the key nodes outlined above and then grabbing the strongest intermediary nodes to fill out your strengths. That's how I arrived at this build, which has cleared Havoc 40 and will work great as a target for you to grind towards for Malice games. Here are the weapons and curios that I've chosen for this build. Malice is very fun, but eventually you will thirst for a bigger challenge. So until that time comes, here are 5 core skills that will help you prepare for the leap on the Arbites class. Number 1, weapon combos. Remember when I said this game isn't like other games? Well, here's one major way. All melee weapons have unique attack combos. The depth this combat system affords is downright addictive and extremely fun, but most of all, it is effective. Each attack has its own properties. We're going to use the Arbites Shock Maul as our example. The first attack, for both light attacks and heavy attacks, is an overhead attack. The second heavy attack in the chain is a horizontal. And that's fine if you're fighting one guy, but what if there's a horde of enemies? Do you really have to start every fight with an overhead? No. If you initiate the fight with a push attack, which I will explain in a second, you get this snappy horizontal to start. This attack chains directly into that second heavy horizontal that seems perfect for lots of dudes. Broadly speaking, horizontal attacks in this game usually either have better cleave or better stagger or both, and are best used into large groups of enemies, while overhead attacks are usually much better into individual targets and heavy armor. This means your basic combos for the Arbites Shock Maul is, for hordes, push attack, heavy, heavy, light, repeat. For big targets, heavy, light, repeat. But that is just the start. As you learn your particular choice of weapon, and every single weapon is different, you can begin to weave in different types of attacks and special attacks that will quickly eliminate different kinds of targets or groups. Number 2. Okay, so I mentioned push attacks several times there, but what is that? Well, it's part of the push system. While you are holding block, you can block attacks. Nice. But if you tap the attack button while blocking, you will do a shove. This shove will interrupt most enemy actions within a 360-degree arc. Yes, that means behind you. If you hold the attack button, you will do a shove followed by an attack. This attack is usually very snappy and unique to that particular type of attack and chains into other combos in interesting ways. This is a key skill. Number 3. You can dodge, including ranged attacks. Do you see this flash of light? That means this shooter is about to fire at you. Same for this guy. If there's a lot of enemies, they may fire at different tempos, and you will get hit anyway. Hard cover is important for this reason. Number 4. Listen to this sound. One more time. That's the sound of someone behind you about to make a melee attack that will hit you. Hear this sound? That's the sound of someone trying to shoot you from behind. If you dodge at the right time, you can avoid these attacks. This seems kind of magical, yet as the game gets more complex, will allow you to do insanely cool feats of personal skill that will make you feel super badass. Number 5. See this thing? This is a totem. It is a respawn point for players who have not just downed, but died. These are placed in consistent locations in each map. Start to take note of where they are if one of your teammates dies. Sometimes pulling back as far as you can in the map can get you a much nearer and much easier spawn. This helps a lot in higher difficulty content. Heresy. It's time for a leap. The transition from Malice to Heresy, and from Heresy to Damnation for that matter, are both known to be quite harsh. Don't take it personally. Get your cheeks handed to you and delight in your new understanding that this means there's a whole ton of video game left in this video game, even after you've beaten Malice. I've been preparing you for this skill curve. As a Heresy player, your new task is to start learning from your mistakes. When you die, no matter why, that's a mistake you made. Try to figure out how you can avoid that situation next time and you will get better. The Arbites class has a lot of powerful tools. We've touched on builds, and you've probably started accruing a fair amount of crafting materials, so let's touch on the class's unique weapons. Here are the unique weapons available to the Arbites class. I'll post my preferred upgrades for them and explain their use cases. These are the 2 marks of Executioner shotguns. The Mark III is best for mixed hordes of light elites and specialists or tightly packed groups of shooters and shotgunners. The Mark VIII is best for more medium to long range work and penetrates armor a lot better. This is the Bolter. It's not unique to the class, but it is, from my testing, the most powerful weapon on the class by a small margin. Ammo hungry though. This is the Shot Pistol and Riot Shield. It's actually my favorite. It specializes in sniping elites and specialists, sometimes by the bushelful. It can block enemy bullets, but it does fall off a little in super high difficulty content. This is the Arbites Shock Maul. It's probably the best melee weapon on the class right now, though the jury is still out. It's just pretty good at everything. These are the 2 Shock Mauls and Suppression Shields. They do lack a bit of the punchiness of the shieldless Maul, but they can block ranged attacks and have this enormous conical suppression and stagger blast that is entirely as effective as the Break the Line. So this is an excellent general purpose but defensively oriented melee weapon. I made an effort to be brief there, so let's do another 5 core skills for surpassing Heresy. Number 1. Heresy is really the first time gunners and shooters will be a real threat to contend with, and it only gets scarier in higher difficulties. It's time to talk about slides. Sliding can be done from a sprint or a dodge by tapping your crouch button while doing either action. Dodge slides cost 2 dodges. While sliding, you are counted as dodging for ranged attacks, but not melee attacks. You can attack or run from ranged attacks this way, even as Ogren. Number 2. Speaking of not getting shot, sprinting perpendicular to the shooter will prevent you from being shot by them while you still have stamina in the bank. Number 3, 4, and 5. Disablers, disablers, disablers. There's a lot of funny egos out there that will talk about how easy Heresy and Damnation or Auric is. I'm one of them. But even the best player is one and done if a disabler jumps them. Up until now, you've probably mostly relied on your teammates to help you, but it is time for you to learn how to fight back when alone. There are 3 disablers. The least threatening is the Mutie. These guys are pretty tough to kill on first contact, so the most reliable way to deal with them is to dodge their grab. The second option is to position yourself so that they ram you into a wall or other large object. They will not damage you and will instead just throw you somewhere, which is usually safe. Preferably, you should try to do both and then kill the Mutie after he hits something. Poxhounds. The enemy has dogs too, and while your loyal pupper can save you if you get pounced, there are cases where you won't have them around or it won't be fast enough to save your life. Dog jumps can be shoved. Dog jumps can be beaten back, with staggering melee attacks. Generally speaking, I attempt to do all three at once to ensure my safety. If you don't react in time and take no action, a Poxhound will generate corruption just by pouncing on you. If you do manage to squeeze in a block but not a push, then you won't take corruption, but you will be pinned. Trappers. This is, arguably, the most individually dangerous enemy in Darktide. Once you are trapped, only another player can save you. She's kinda quiet and can hurl nets through 300 carapace wearing crushers and 4,000 poxwalkers to grab you and tie you up on the floor. She doesn't have a lot of health, so shooting her is often the best choice. You can dodge her net as well if you learn the timing. Staggering her with melee can be unreliable because if she does recover from the blow, she might just net you point blank with little warning. If you can deliver the final blow, that's all fine, otherwise do be alert. Damnation and Auric. I'm going to lump these two together because Auric is just a really hard version of Damnation. The breakpoints are fundamentally the same. The core difference is the spawn rates and special modifiers that add to the challenge that Damnation already provides. Thus, the entire difference in your capacity to clear a Damnation game and an Auric game is the level of refinement in your gameplay. Damnation and Aurics are downright punishing to play when you're new. The first dozen times I played it, while admittedly underleveled and underskilled, I died in the first room. You should try it, it's crazy out there. But it can be beaten. In fact, it can be beaten so hard it starts to feel easy, which is where Havoc will come in. But let's stay on target. If you're approaching Damnation or Auric for the first time, I do have a few tips for you, or rather some questions you can ask yourself for how you can improve. Here's some problems to look at. Can you clutch? Everybody dead? Can you get them back up by yourself? Number 2, can you solo a monstrosity? How about 2? 3, do you have a plan for every specialist? 4, do you know how not to die to shooters? Are you using your right angles properly? 5, can you kill anything in the game with a rusty spoon? Then you might be ready for Havoc. If you do want to get into Damnation, Auric, or Havoc and are looking for more help with builds, equipment, and weapon guides, or deep mechanics information, you should consider subscribing to my channel. That's what I do in Darktide. Havoc. The early Havoc levels are all about mixing it up and easing you into the new challenges you will face in high Havoc. But once you reach the top 10 levels of Havoc, like 30 plus, well, welcome to the endgame content, friend. You've had to develop a lot of skills to play here competently, but do not fear, there's still plenty of room to grow. Havoc is hard enough that even players with multiple thousands of hours consistently lose games. That's the point, in fact. It's just not fun if there's no challenge. Even if you clear Havoc 40 with an optimized kit, and building that kit is certainly part of the fun, there's still all the other weapons and playable gear combos available for you to try. Here's my advice for Havocs. Number 1, don't forget to actually look at your enemies and their animations. They are not just a blob of guys. They're telling you what they're doing. Read them. Number 2, watch your positioning. Stay tight with your team when things get nasty, preferably very tight. Number 3, sometimes you need to actually split to split aggro. Try to work in teams of 2s when you do this. Number 4, coordinate your ability cycling as a team. Try not to just spam everything all at once. Number 5, don't forget your basics. Fundamentals will always make the difference. Now I'd like to talk about RBD's place in the high difficulty meta, because if you're playing these difficulties, what you want to know is how the class shook out in the balance. What's good, what's bad, that kind of stuff. Well, I've got you. In broad terms, I place his power level somewhere between Veteran and Zealot, but below Ogryn. He's still new, so maybe there's hidden tech we haven't figured out yet, but I've had the pleasure of speaking to a bunch of people, including other playtesters, and most people are putting him in roughly that category, which is great for the game. In my view, he's a bit more of a shooting class than a melee class in terms of raw damage output, but his melee is very safety oriented with lots of stagger and stun and solid damage overall anyway. Still, he does bring a ton of super useful abilities to the table that are also fun and interesting. The class's primary weakness is boss damage. RBJ's best options for this in my testing seem to be the bolter, though the OG shotguns could be solid, and the executioner shotguns are not all that bad, just not like amazing, especially in Havocs. He's also a little light on rapid armor melting options, though with his stagger and stun options, he has great crowd control for high difficulty games. I can't say I've worked out the meta yet, but my personal favorite setup is Castigator's Stance with Execution Order, which is the Havoc clearing build I shared earlier in this video. I usually run my pupper with Remote Det and the associated Brittleness talent for that. This stacks well with stagger-based damage buffs, allowing you to tee up bosses for big damage dumps. Still, not that impressive compared to the kind of things that Ogryn or Fury of the Faithful Zealot can do, but not bad. Break the Line could be really strong with its super quick cooldowns, but one thing is clear to me. Nuncio Aquila is a must-take in 4-cop Havocs. It's basically a Psyker bubble and provides so much value to a team of angry RBD's warriors in terms of safety, stability, and even output. So what about weaponry? Well, I think the bolter, from my testing, is the best but most ammo-hungry option. And for this reason, I actually think the Mark III and Mark VIII shotguns both have really strong places for a singular Arbites working with other players, because they are nearly as strong as the bolter, but have way more ammo efficiency, which means you can actually use them in Havoc for more than one job. I'd generally reserve the bolter for your boss killer role in a multi-Arbites team. Unfortunately, despite being my favorite toy, I think the shot pistol does fall off for the exact same reason the Zerona revolver does for other classes. It's basically S tier in Auric, but it drops to like B in Havoc. It is not at all a bad weapon, it hits breakpoints just fine, it just doesn't do enough compared to other options. And those other options can do most of the same things it does, but also do other things effectively too. I do know people have cleared Havoc with it, however, so I'm looking forward to doing the same. For the melee weapons, the single shock maul seems to be the strongest, and then you have the Indignatus Crusher as a surprise addition that slaps very hard. I tend to take the shield and maul more as a stability choice than a raw output one. I'm not saying it's bad, not at all, but its time to kill into dense groups is a tad slow sometimes. Upshot, it's super cool, and the suppression AoE is incredibly strong as a defensive utility in a mixed team comp. Oh, the Cyber Mastiff. We do have to talk about this. I really like the way it's designed. It doesn't ruin my challenge in the game, but it's an ever-present utility that works on a nice tempo. It often saves me from random guys trying to hit me from behind, and I like that. And it's also very useful as a seeking missile on specialists that are far away when I'm low on ammo. I like it. The Lone Wolf talent, however, is very juicy. Either the shock mines or the Arbites grenades are incredibly good with grenade regen. Arbites grenades can even clear out hexbound demon host spawns rapidly, so having these in the tank can save runs in Havoc games. All in all, I'm very excited to see how this class shakes out in the balance as more people get their hands on it. It's super fun, and I've had a ton of fun testing it out and playing it lately, and I hope to see you in game sometime soon, and I hope you enjoy all of the other tutorials, guides, and gameplay content I have planned for the next few days. And on your way out, don't forget to click the link in the description below. It will direct you to the wishlist page for the deluxe DLC of the Arbites class, which releases on June 23rd. Warm regards, everyone. Reginald.
Hey, bye! Oh my goodness.